I guess we're ready. Hey, Keri, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks, sir. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. So, Keri, you were on my show before, and like we were just talking off camera, I'm shocked that so many people listen to this shit. So, it's super exciting that you're back. So, owner and founder of Empower Yoga.
Yep.
I'm a half-ass yoga person. We talked about it last time. I've gotten a little better, and I'll share my experience with you. But what I'm always interested with you, are you were like a beast of an endurance athlete.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And that is what's insane. And I know Yogi and all that athletic training, all that, but the endurance stuff is just like next level. So last time we spoke, you and I were talking about you did the 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days.
Correct.
What on earth? We're going to start from the beginning, kind of, but I have
Okay.
other stuff I talked about. But what on earth made you want to get into this kind of endurance stuff and then really like outlier next level endurance kind of stuff? How did this all start for you?
That's a great question. So actually, I started running right before I moved to New Jersey, and I've been living here about, oh gosh, 12 years now, I guess. I've been living here longer than I was living in Boston because my husband and I were talking about that the other day. We met in Boston and got married, and we've been living in Jersey longer than there. So now I'm like, we consider ourselves more Jersey people, I guess, versus
Cool.
Massholes. Anyway, so I got into running then. I remember I used to watch the Boston Marathon, and I thought, like, I didn't even know what a marathon was, and I didn't know how many miles it was. And I remember, like, just like drinking and hanging out, and that's the thing you do, on Marathon Monday. And I decided, one day that it was just something that was kind of intriguing about it, and I was like, I wonder if I could do something like that. And my husband and I, we got married, and I got diagnosed with cervical cancer. And for me, my future, I kind of thought, my life was going to go in a certain direction. I thought I would have kids. I thought that we were going to have this life, and I had all these kind of things in store. And as it turned out, I got really sick, and found out that I wasn't going to be able to have kids. And from there, I kind of spiraled a little bit. Kind of found how I found yoga. I like to say that yoga kind of really saved my life, taught me about how strong I was, and how there's more to life than what you think your path is. And honestly, it was all about what my body could do versus what it couldn't do. And that's kind of how I started running, and the Boston Marathon, and just being in Boston and started running there. And then moving to New Jersey, I decided to join these athletic pursuits. I started with a 10K and then a half marathon, a 10 miler, a half marathon. And from there, it just kind of opened up all these doors for me. And it was like the floodgates open. And I was like, wow, I never thought that I could be a runner. And I think a lot of people think that, but you can, and everybody can, and you can really do anything, and anything is truly possible. So once I started kind of developing that mindset and just recognizing how strong I was, I discovered this love and passion for endurance sports. I'm not the fastest. I'm not a sprinter. I don't have like fast twitch muscles, but what I do have is a lot of mental strength, fortitude, and a lot of grit. And I can go on for a really long time. I have a good battery. I'm kind of like the Energizer Bunny. I have a good battery. I can go on forever and ever and ever, I feel like. And that's what makes it kind of great for me. And that's kind of why, endurance sports has been, really kind of a big part of my life right now.
When last time we spoke, and I always think about this, and I hope it was you I spoke to, and I'm not talking about somebody else, because that would be fucking
Okay.
crazy. When I run, right?
Yeah.
When you started running, you were like in some group, and
Yeah.
everybody in the
Oh,
group
yeah.
was a better runner than you, and like these guys would be drinking fucking coffee, and like you were
Yeah.
finally like kind of. And when I started running again, in last December, which I'm
Yeah.
not a huge runner, I'm okay, and I have some goals I'm going to share with you as we're talking,
Please.
but the I'll say that to myself sometimes. I'm like, well, Keri, like these guys like had left her
Yeah.
behind pretty much. You know what I mean? So like I'm like finding my motivation by like listening to some of that story. But
Yeah.
that was true. Like you were not
Oh
always.
God, no. I was not athletic. I always joke that I was kind of like, even when I met my husband, I told him I did yoga. I never did yoga. I wore Lululemon yoga pants. I was the girl in
Nice.
college who, yeah. And he likes to bring that up because now it's like you own a yoga studio, and now you still wear Lululemon yoga pants, but now you actually do yoga.
That's
Um,
cool.
But I was a girl in college that would like put makeup on and go like walk on the treadmill, and I wanted to go pick up dudes in the gym. Like I had no interest in working out. I mean, I played softball as a kid, but I didn't really find sports so much later in life. And it was really that, that pivotal moment in my life. I guess I was 27. And I just, my life changed, and I just discovered this whole other world. And I feel like, just it's just been an incredible chapter, an incredible journey. So yeah, your story is absolutely correct. That did happen to me. I remember being like the last one. I would cry to hit other slips, like here's the route, and everybody would be done, and I would still be out there. And I was like, damn it, I wanted to give up so many times, and I'm like, I'm gonna get better at this. I could do this, and that's yeah. Totally.
I'm always fascinated with like the real outliers, like people who take risks and people who are outliers. So like surfers, people who will jump off of shit, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like you, endurance athletes, because I think people get scared to push themselves. Like when you go to the gym or you do whatever, and you put that little extra weight on, or you try to push yourself to the next level. I think people get scared with how they feel.
Yeah.
And I would do that too. And now I have this on my watch so I could see what my heart rate is. And it like fucking nuts about my heart rate. Now, I don't know if this is good or this is bad or whatever it is, but I'm like, all right, my heart rate's okay. I could push myself like a little bit harder. But sometimes you're going to feel nauseous, or sometimes you're going to feel a certain way. But I think you have to kind of get it out of your head that like, you're probably not going to die.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you might feel like shit, or I think if your heart rate goes above a certain, whatever your max heart rate number is for a certain period of time, it makes you feel nauseous.
You'll probably you might pass out, but yeah, you're not gonna die.
You might pass out, you might throw up, you might do whatever, but you're probably not going to die. And I think people get afraid of like doing things like going, even basic things like going to the gym, doing stuff like that, where they're like, I don't know how this is going to make me feel. Like, I don't know how, like Rob always makes fun of me. Like, I'm fucking nuts about the gym. Like, I'm crazy about it. He's the opposite. Like,
no, I am actually. See, Ray doesn't know this.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Here's a story. So my wife joined the gym with some friends of ours, and they went and did the Rocky Run. Do you know what the Rocky Run is?
Yeah.
Okay, so awesome. She came home with this. She came home with this fucking medal. I'm gonna go pull it out. It's fucking amazing. And I was.
Your wife did the Rocky Run?
Hold on, she did the Rocky Run. I'm like, that is fucking amazing. Where do you get one of those medals? She's like, well,
Keri did it too.
You won the race. Did it, right? I literally have hundreds of medals in my office, because what I did after that was I ran races for like 3 years. But the only catch was I had to get a medal. I had to have a medal. That was the only way. I hate running. I hate exercise. I hate everything. But I figure if I can push myself like once a week to do something I hate, I'll be able to do something I love forever. If I can even like succeed. I got down to about, for a big guy, I'm like, 230. I'm 6'2". I was able to do 5K in about 25 minutes. I think that's pretty good.
That's awesome.
That's really good. That was like the best time I ever had. I ran a charity for in Baltimore. So the Baltimore Ravens have a charity, and I think I came in like 3rd place. That was like the best I ever did. But I hate it. I hated every second of it. I would love to know from you, like, what does your brain do when you're running that long? Because I know I'm having a zillion thoughts back and forth about how much I hate running. So what do you do while you're thinking, like, when you're doing these endurance sports that are like, I couldn't even imagine. I'll be exhausted just trying to think of what my brain's going to think about.
It's a great question. You kind of go through a lot of ups and downs while you're running long distances. I mean, when I did my 100-miler, actually, you know what? Surprisingly, you don't really think about anything. There are points where you're like, this sucks. And you start to question your sanity and question why you're doing this. And then, you kind of go through peaks and valleys, then you're like, oh my God, this is great. You're on top of the world. There's a beautiful view, or you're seeing nature or animals or whatever, or you meet someone cool next to you and they have a cool story. And then you go through shit again. So it's kind of like coming out on the other side. It's just, I kind of like that feeling though. I like the feeling where like you feel like you're going to die, but then all of a sudden, like, you're reborn and you're just so much stronger and better than you were before. And I don't know, it's just those hard moments really, really test you. And I don't know, you just got to keep pushing. So to answer your question, what do I think about? Nothing sometimes, honestly. I didn't even listen to music for my 100-miler.
Wow.
It was just kind of nice just to be. I think the thing for me is like, I don't have to worry about work. I don't have to worry about anything. Like, no one's going to call me. I don't have to get an answer an email. It's very freeing and very liberating, I guess, in a sense. So I try to really be present in the moment and not worry about what else is going on or what I'm going to be doing after, and really just like, this is what I'm doing. I'm here, and I'm going to try to appreciate for all it is. Oh, let's see the Rocky medal. Where is it?
All right, hold on.
So, Rob, this is a side of you I didn't know, bro. Like, I really just
Look at
thought
that.
you were just like an out of shape, middle aged fucking guy. Like, I really didn't know.
Here, hold on.
I love
Now
it.
I'm impressed. You know, now I'm really impressed.
This is the one that started it all.
All right, here we go.
All right, this is the
Let's
Rocky
see
Run.
it.
So you
Love
get
it.
this big ass Rocky Run medal.
Yep.
Keri, you have the same one, right? Didn't I see you do the Rocky Run or no?
I haven't done the Rocky Run. I've done the Philadelphia Marathon, and like, you know,
Oh, there you
the
go.
big thing is anytime you go down there, you want to go over by the steps, and you got to get the, you know,
Yeah.
and listen. But
Yeah, so the
that's
Rocky
incredible.
Run starts like right in front of the museum. You run down around the loop. You run all the way down the river, and you end up right on the steps.
Yeah.
That's where the finish
How many
line is.
miles is it, Rob? Is it what is it? 5K?
3.2. That's what a 5K
5K?
is. 3.2 miles. So
Thank you.
it sucks.
It's incredible.
So
Yeah,
that's
but
awesome, man. I'm telling you, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked.
I had to tell you something, Rob. To be honest, it gets easier after 5 miles. I feel like the first 5 miles of anything like sucks, but then you kind of fall into this like rhythm, and you kind of find your flow, and it does get easier. I'm like, you could just get through the first 5. You could easily do a marathon, 50K.
So here's the thing. I couldn't really
Oh my God,
run.
you're wearing your medal, bro.
I
That's
couldn't
fucking
really
awesome.
run. I never ran before. Like, I hate running. I hate being like, I hate like the pain, because my knee, when God was giving out knees, I was on the back of the line. So my left knee is shot from day one. I didn't figure out I had high arches till I ran the 3rd race, and I thought it would be easier to cut my feet off than to feel the pain of my shin splints. It was so bad. In fact, I figured out all this stuff. Like, I have super high arches and I need super supports in my shoes.
Right.
And after I figured that out, then it was like, well, my feet don't hurt anymore. So now I could run anytime. And I was like, I did a lot of great stuff for my son too. We did it for charity. We did it for business purposes. But, you know, like, I did one race called the Tough Pumpkin. It was in Pennsylvania. So you had to do a 5K on this farm. So if you know about farms in Pennsylvania in the winter, if it's a wet winter, the farms are like, it's like a Tough Mudder. So they had it was called the Great Pumpkin Run. But if you carried a pumpkin the whole time and you cross the finish line, they give you another medal. I'm like, oh my God. I have to get 2 medals for this. So the day we go, it had rained at least 24 hours straight, like torrential rain. It was legitimately like a Tough Mudder. So we were like one of the first people to get our pumpkin, and we were there early. We got the smallest, tiniest pumpkin. It had to be maybe this big.
It's fucking awesome.
But the piece was so long on the top of it, we were able to cradle it right on our arm and run, where some guy was like trying to be a hot dog. He had like a 5-pound pumpkin. Try to carry that when you're muddy, running through the mud, a 5-pound pumpkin. That was
that's challenging.
But
It's
you know
crazy
what? I mean,
motivates you.
I don't know how the brain works like that. My brain just doesn't stop. So I don't know. It must be like a superpower you have, because 3 miles, I'm like done. I'm exhausted. I've exhausted my own brain after 3 miles.
Well, they say a lot, like if you follow like Stoic philosophy. All right, I'm gonna be nerdy here for a second. They say that the best ideas come when you're walking.
Yeah.
So like, you might be thinking about absolutely nothing. Like this morning when I ran, I was really thinking about, like, I only did a couple of miles. I'm thinking about like my mile time. And I'm like, I got to get a better fucking mile time. My mile time sucks, right? But I'm also not like a really good runner. So I'm like, all right, let me think about this for a minute. And that's what I'm thinking about. But then I start thinking about like work. I start thinking about the podcast. Then I start thinking about how Rob says I'm never really kind of like prepared for the podcast. That pissed me off. Then I start, because I just shoot from the hip. Like, these are all the shit
that that's
I
real.
was going to get to this. You know what I mean? Like, eventually, like as we're talking. But then I started just really thinking about it. But then I was like, right, look around. Then I was like, you know,
he asked me my opinion, right? He asked me my opinion.
I did.
So if you don't know what you're going to talk about, how can you possibly structure what you're going to talk about?
This is what he said, Keri. This is exactly what he said. That's fucking unacceptable. That's his quote. That was his quote last night.
No, that was okay,
meeting.
Keri. Here's the real story. Okay, so my niece and my daughter podcast with us. My niece, who is the girl in our little icon there, is Lisa. Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day to Lisa, by the way. She's out with her mom for today. But anyway, so we were talking yesterday. My daughter was podcasting with Lisa. Lisa lives in Pennsylvania, so she was literally keeping Ray's seat warm. So Ray came down, and I'm like, well, Kennedy's done. And as he was running up, it says, I hope you have something prepared because we got someone to take your seat if you're not paying attention. And then he got all hurt. His feelings got hurt. So,
yeah, I got a little ass hurt from that.
I'm sorry for that. You have to put up with that today. Sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay.
Keri's
That's
cool.
so funny.
She's down.
That's
She's
so
down
funny.
with the program.
Well,
This
I'm
podcast
down.
makes no sense, but I guess
it's free flowing. I love it. I appreciate that.
no, it's what's good about it. It's the only thing I like. But when you look at people who are outliers, and you look at people who are willing to kind of do these things, there's probably a lot of people that can do it or do something similar, but they never find that, like that, the desire to do it. So I look at my older daughter, Autumn. She was a stud athlete in high school for her whole life up to high school. She always played softball. She played always 2 years up. She was always really, really good player. She says, Dad, I'm going to play softball in high school, but I'm also going to play field hockey. So I said, all right, I don't know, whatever. Because some of the softball girls play field hockey. The team doesn't win. They're Nottingham. They were horrible. It wasn't until, as I'll tell you the story, further down the line they get better. But she ends up being like the CVC field hockey player on the all CVC team, the Colonial Valley, and I couldn't I'm like, you never played it before, but she was just like determined, like she's that kind of person where she's like determined to be successful. Emma, her sister, same exact thing. Emma was a much better runner and a much better at that kind of stuff, and Emma was always determined. She would say like, oh, this so-and-so, this bitch is a better fucking runner than me. I'm not going to let that happen. I came in third today because they would have to do like a 5K before practice, and then they would practice. She's like, oh, I'd come in third. She's I'm not. I got to catch this girl. I got to catch the girl. She couldn't catch the first place girl, but she was so determined. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And I think that people don't think that way. And it's like that with business. So you're an entrepreneur. So you have the same with the Empower Yoga. Do you own any other businesses or just Empower Yoga?
We do. We own a mobile home park, Mama's Mobile Home Park on Route 1 over in South Brunswick. Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
How did you get into that?
Well, it really was my dad's. It's been a family business, but my husband and I ended up moving to Jersey because my dad and my stepmom were running it, and they both got diagnosed with cancer, both deceased now, 6 years. And so my husband and I took it over. So I run that too. And it's really interesting, but he kind of, I guess I learned a lot from my dad. He was an entrepreneur and he always, liked to do hard shit too, I guess. But I think going back to your point, I think most people don't like to be uncomfortable. My favorite quote is life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And that's a quote that you'll find on my yoga studio wall. And I try to do things every day that challenge me. And that could be as simple as like having a difficult conversation or doing something that you don't want to do. It doesn't have to be like these massive, big things like run 100 miles, but, I think it's important. And I just think that we get complacent. And I think a lot of times, like it's about, people don't always prioritize themselves or, prioritize things. They use the excuse of work or family or whatever, and they don't make time. And I don't know, I work with a lot of clients and I hear, now I also started coaching. So I coach a lot of triathletes and runners now too, which has been incredible. And I love helping people try to achieve their goals and their dreams too. But oftentimes, like a lot of people don't necessarily get there because they're not willing to sacrifice certain things in order to do that, so it's
to be successful, it takes a lot. You can't and there's different levels of success.
That's people are afraid to fail, and you're not failing, you're not growing, so you need to fail in order to kind of get to the next level and get up. And I think people are scared of that. So sorry, go ahead, apologize.
No, you're right. No, you do all the talking because your insight here is great. I feel the exact same way. Like you can't. Like when I first started going back to the gym, right? So I found myself in December of last year. I found myself in a really, really bad spot, right? I got down to like 135 pounds. Okay. I was stressed, like stress from work related. I really, this is when I got this very interested in men's mental health. But I was really I was in a bad fucking spot. And I was like, I had lost like a lot of the things that I always did. You know what I mean? And I lost a big part of so I owned this bail bond company years ago. And I was always like Ray the bail bondsman. Okay. And the New Jersey stopped doing bail. So I had to come up with something else. So I started a construction company. That's what everybody in New Jersey does, right? But I ended up really liking it, and I ended up being successful, right? And I'm like, oh, this is really working out. This is really, really good. But there were stresses during that. Like I never was rated. I'm still not rated a construction guy. Like I was still always rated a bail bonds guy, but bail bonds didn't exist anymore, right? So I felt like I really lost that identity. Time goes by, have all these new stressors in the construction company. People are fucking nuts. They'll drive you crazy about certain shit. I have clients that own mobile parks, and they're great clients because they, I would say that they have about 70% of the care that somebody does, like putting in their, $70,000 kitchen or something like that. It's a different type of job that you're doing. And I found myself on New Year's Day with my electrician installing something in this drop dead gorgeous kitchen that we had done. It was a stunning kitchen. And I found myself like, I literally went out to my truck and I cried. And I was like, it's New Year's fucking Day. What am I doing? I weigh 135 pounds. I'm in bad fucking shape. I can't, this is the end. Like I need somebody to fucking talk to. I need whatever. I ended up doing two things. After I got over myself, I ended up doing two things. My daughter, my oldest one now, is trying to get her IFBB bodybuilding card. And she's a tremendous shape, right? She's doing the bikini thing, whatever, right? So I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I want to start going to the gym with her. So we start going to the gym, and we start going to Breeze Fitness, which is a whole nother story. But we start on Breeze Fitness. Everything's good. I'm starting to feel a little bit better. I found somebody to talk to. Right. Okay. So I found a therapist. I started this guy, Paul. He was as crazy as the fucking day is long, but it was somebody that I could talk to that couldn't, like he didn't have a vested interest in what I was saying. Like he had to tell me, like, you talk to your wife, you talk to your husband, they're going to say things that make you feel better. If you go to a good therapist, he's going to say things that don't make you feel better, things that you need to work. Yeah, to challenge you, things that you need to walk. I mean, he was nuts. He was telling me things that he was a swinger, and I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, bro, I'm here for TMI. Yeah, I'm like, I'm here for therapy. Now I feel like I'm giving you therapy, but tell me more about the swinging thing, right? So, so now I'm thinking like,
only you pick a psychologist that likes swinging and wants to tell you about his swinging.
Oh my God.
That's the odds that you have, by the way.
It was so crazy. And I always say this one story where the guy said, Ray, you're a little too frank with what you say. You don't hold back. And I said, just then my phone rings in the middle of therapy session. And it's this guy, Jeff, who works for me. And Jeff's a little on the heavy side. And he called me up to complain that we're working on this firehouse and he has to go up and down these steps. Right. And he goes, Ray, these fucking steps, bro. I got 3 sets of steps. And I'm like, well, if you weren't such a fat fuck, I said, you'd be able to go up and down the steps. Right. I was like, lose some weight and call me back. I hang up the phone. And the therapist goes, that's your problem. I said, I feel great. And I said, and I might have just saved Jeff's life. Right. But in all seriousness, so I needed those things. So now I go to the gym, and Rob makes fun of me. I go to the gym. I want to say 6 days a week. I don't go on Monday. One day I take a yoga class at the gym, and then the other 5 days I lift. And then I try to do things certain mornings a week. But that changed my whole outlook. So I went from 135 pounds, 136 pounds to 166 pounds. That's what I weighed this morning. Super stronger, really, really feeling good about myself. And the difference that it makes, if everybody did that, or if some people did that, my older son goes to the gym every day. Both my girls go to the gym. My younger boy goes to the gym, some more than others. Autumn's there every day. I'm there, whatever. But it makes such a difference. And you find yourself, like you said, in this rhythm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is like when I get off here with you, I'm going to go home. I'm going to eat a snack, and then I'm going to go to Robert Wood Johnson, and I'm going to work out. And I have to do this shitty, crazy leg. I have this athletic workout that I'm going to tell you about that I do 20 minutes of legs, 20 minutes on the bike, and like 20 minutes of rowing. Yeah. And that's like awesome. my leg day, because I hate legs, and I just can't see myself like doing an hour's worth of legs. You know what I mean? But I think you get into that rhythm and you start to feel better about yourself. And I think you have some experience with that too, where you you find yourself as you're running, or you find yourself in a spot that, like, I don't answer my phone in the gym unless like my kid texts me, not like my daughter thought somebody had broken our house. It was like 911. So, all right, it wasn't true, but
I'm glad it wasn't that.
thank God. And the 7 police officers that came too, they there was no, whatever. It's a whole story, but I don't answer phone during the gym. That's like my, that's like my time, you know what I mean? And that makes a difference. Like you find yourself like, I'm going to go from here, I'm going to go from there. And even if somebody says hi to me, or hey Ray, or can you, whatever like that, that's cool. And I set the timer on my watch. I give myself an hour, and I just fucking try to get it in. And that's like what I do. And then I just go home and eat and do whatever. So you're saying this very similar things.
Yeah, I think it's important because I think you need that time for yourself. And I tell a lot of my clients too, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. Like, if you do so much with family and work, and there's so many obligations, like, what are you doing for yourself? But what I do appreciate recently is that the things are starting to switch too in regards to health and fitness. Like, I think when I was younger, in my 20s, you worked out to lose weight. And it was just a thing for like aesthetics. Like, everybody wanted to be skinny. Everybody wanted to have a certain body type or look. Now I think people are actually working out to be healthy, to live longer, to be better. And it's, they're noticing now that it's better, like mentally, physically, emotionally, as you were mentioning, like it's good for yourself. Like, you need that. You need those rush of endorphins. It produces a lot of different, chemicals in the brain, and it helps you feel better. And, and it's good. And there's so many good things about it. And I hope that most people get to experience that. But a lot of people are a little intimidated by that. But there's so many different ways to work out. And it's always about like finding what's right for you. Like, if running isn't right for you, Rob, it's about finding something else that does work, that you do enjoy, that you can take the time to do. And I think that's
running works with the medals are all I need, like a child. Although one time they were supposed to give out medals, and they made a mistake on the website, and they gave me a dog bowl.
Oh,
for real?
I'll show you. Hold on.
He's got all this stuff. What, speaking of one thing you mentioned too, was you can't pour from an empty cup. What's your nutrition? Are you like nuts with macros, or like, what's your?
I try to find a really healthy, balanced diet. I do have some kind of GI stuff. I found out recently that I have an intolerance to sorbitol, and it's a sugar alcohol, and it's in everything.
I know all about
naturally, it's in like raspberries and blackberries and watermelon and strawberries and honey. And so I was eating a lot of those things, and I always thought that I was eating healthy, which, in certain respects I was, but it just wasn't healthy for me. So, and I found more of what we call like a low FODMAP diet. My body has a hard time with digestion and digesting certain foods. So I'm really I eat very plain and simply, honestly. But I try to eat a balanced diet. I don't count my calories. I used to. I did have an eating disorder for many years, and I used to hate myself, and I used to throw up, and part of it was, and that was a really difficult time in my life, and it came from wanting to fit in it came from this idea of like, I needed to fit in, or I needed to have a certain body or look a certain way. And then you start to do those things. But now I eat to fuel my body, and I try to educate my clients, and women in particular, because like men have it too. But, a lot of my female clients, people get into endurance events because they want to lose weight, or they want to get skinny or whatever. And it's like, if you want to do endurance events, you need to eat carbohydrates. Carbs are your friends. Like, you need that. That's an important, part of it. So it's like, you can't like run marathons and ultras and try to be really skinny, because a lot of times I don't want to fuel the workouts, and that's when injuries happen. And that's when we start to break down, and we start to hit the wall or bonk from our workouts, and we struggle. So it's educating people. So what do I eat? We think of it as terms of like, if you think like, have you ever heard the idea of athlete plates?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with this at all?
A little bit. Not, you're like the second or third person that's mentioned this to me, but I've never done any research. So
what I like about this concept of athlete plates, and it came out USA Triathlon, working with the Olympic Committee, and they came up with this idea of athlete plates. So rather than get like bogged down about calories and macros and things like that, for people who it can be very triggering. When I used to count calories, I did that as like control aspect. I always thought that I had to maintain a certain calorie. I had to be under, 1,000 calories or 1,200 calories or 900 calories at times that I was restricting myself to. It was really unhealthy. So now if you think about it in terms of like food. So if you have a plate of food, the protein always stays the same. It's about a quarter of the plate. And then your vegetable and carb ratio will change depending on kind of, your fitness or your workouts for the week. So if you're in a really big building, we usually build for 3 weeks and like we'll deload for a week. So like your 3 week build, you're going to eat more carbs than than vegetables. So a plate might be the quarter protein stays the same. It might be a quarter vegetables, and then half the plate is going to be carbohydrates. And then if you're deloading or you're off season, it might be, quarter carbs and more vegetables or things like that. And then when it's like real, so it kind of varies and goes up and down. So I kind of follow that, and I try to teach my clients about that, because in order to perform, in order to do well, you need overall nutrition. You also need your like race nutrition or your training nutrition too. Because what I started noticing is that a lot of my clients were eating during their workouts, but then they were starting to count it towards their overall calorie goals. And I'm like, that doesn't work that way. You can't do that. Like you're eating and drinking to fuel that workout, to top up your glycogen so you can continue, but then you need to continue to replenish your body all day long so that you can fuel the next day and the next workout. So I think people lose sight of that a little bit or don't understand that. And we get so bogged down about this idea of like weight, and being skinny.
I wish that most people, all right, so I'll speak very frankly as a guy.
Yeah.
Nobody likes skinny bitches. Just seriously. Like, I wish women would understand that.
I can't with this guy.
I wish women would understand that.
That was not on the list of questions, by the way. That was not on the list of questions. All the work he did. I don't like skinny bitches wasn't number 7, by the way, just for the record.
It's on the back page.
I apologize. I need a sign that says we apologize is what I need to put up there.
But true though. And I wish that people would understand that. Like, and I wish that women or guys even or whatever, like be you.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And
but you have social media and you look at what's portrayed and it's just crazy. Like, it's a blessing and a curse, and everybody puts their best selves or puts it up there, and then people see this and it's constantly in your face about this body type. I mean, it's better now. It's gotten better now because the whole body positive movement. So I think it's it's better in some regards, where I think we're kind of getting away from that. But
I'm 50-50 with the body positive movement, because I think that you should be you, but I also think that if you is unhealthy, like if you're morbidly obese or whatever it is, then you need to make some changes. Or if you're like super, super skinny, like you need to make some changes. Like I follow guys, like I follow David Goggins, right? I follow Cameron Haynes. I'm not going to be those guys. You know what I mean? Like no matter how hard I try, I'm never going to be those guys. But it's someone to look up to. Like I look at Cameron Haynes. He's I think he's my age, and he runs every day. I forget what he works out every day, whatever like that. But then he runs in the morning. He runs. I think he runs a marathon a day. He runs during his lunch. He does like all of this. I'm never going to do that. Like that's just I'm not built that way. I'm not going to do that. But it's someone to admire, to say, wow, look at this guy, or Goggins with his craziness, stay hard, it just makes you, it's intense and it makes, but you don't need to be that way, but you do need to be healthy. With regard to carbs, I was exhausted during my workout. So I started drinking this thing called Vitagrow, and it's a carb drink. And it's kind of like drinking potato starch, right? Doesn't really taste like anything, but you put it in the water, you shake it up and you drink it. You could drink it before, after, during, whatever. I start drinking it on my way to the gym, and then I drink it while I work out. And that has made a huge difference in my not feeling exhausted when I'm working out. Now, do you do weight workout too? Like you work out with weights, or?
Mostly in the off season, I do weights. Otherwise, in season, I'll do like some light bands and resistance stuff. But off season, I'll do more weights. I started to go back to CrossFit again. I used to coach CrossFit, and I just needed a mental break from some of the triathlon training that I've been doing a lot of. So I started doing that. So I'll, it'll vary different points of the year. I'll do more weights than other times, because once you start getting into like the really bulk and mileage, you have to kind of back off a little bit from the weight. I don't want to be fatigued from that, so I can be able to have better runs. So it's a balance, but definitely do some sort of kind of strength training in there, more, runner specific. So working a lot on like glute stuff, or whether it's glute bridges, one-legged bridges, calf raises, one-legged deadlifts with just light dumbbells and things like that, which we actually do a lot of in yoga anyway. So I practice yoga a lot and I teach a lot. So that's been, really beneficial. And I think, I try to, with all my clients now, I try to get them to do yoga at least twice a week. They don't have to come to my studio, but there's, online or whatever.
Yeah, yoga app, whatever.
Yeah, it's really important. It does a difference. And people are always like, how can you do such crazy things, or how can you do so much? And it's like yoga. Yoga is probably one of the best things. And I take my recovery very seriously. So I'm always stretching and rolling and massage and rebooting and you name it. So I have all the tools and gadgets too. If you want your body to perform and do well for you, you also have to take care of it, and you got to fuel it. So I think it's great that you're drinking that stuff during the workouts and you found things that work for you, because a lot of that's trial and error too. And people are like, well, if something doesn't work, I don't want to try something else. But it's important, and you should try something until you find what works and what makes you feel good.
Well, when I was going to Breeze Fitness. They went out of business, and now I find myself at Robert Wood. And my daughter used to work at Breeze. And I didn't want to, they used to open at 6, and she was opening the gym. And I'm like, I don't want you to go by yourself. So that forced me to go to the gym on Saturdays and Sundays at whatever it was, 5:30, whatever.
Yeah.
And that was when, no problem. That was when all of the people who I would say were more serious lifters came in. I started just kind of like talking with guys, and just saying, one guy, I was like, what do you drink when you work out? And he's like, well, I drink this Vitagrow stuff, and you can buy it at the GNC or whatever it is. And he goes, it really made a difference. And I started, it's like, all right, I'll give it a shot. And I started doing it. And I drink a protein shake, and I eat like the same shit. So I'll have like oatmeal and eggs in the morning and a protein shake. And I'm very like, I got to eat a certain amount of calories. I have a high metabolism. So I kind of like focus on things that I like to eat. I eat early in the morning. I eat breakfast twice because I'll work out. And then for my first workout. So I'll eat something, I'll work out, and I'll eat again. And then that morning workout, I do like a meditation thing too, which is mentally like the fucking best thing you can do. And then I eat again at 10. I eat again at like 1. I eat smaller meals because I own a construction company, and sometimes there's nowhere to heat something up or nowhere to do whatever. So I kind of make it so that way I don't go to Wawa and eat that crap, but I'll have like something small at 10, something small at 1, something small at 3. Then I come home and I'm doing that. I'm preparing to go to the gym. When you did the 7 marathons and 7 continents in 7 days. Was that the hardest thing you've ever done? Because you've done some other crazy shit that I was just looking at. But was that when you look at the races and the things that you've done, was that the hardest either mentally or physically?
I think to be honest, it's always like the last race was the hardest thing you've ever done. Because sometimes like you almost forget about the other shit sometimes. So like you're in the moment, you're like, this sucked. Antarctica was really hard. Because it was -20 and you had the 50, 60 mile per hour gale force winds and running, a square. That was really hard. And I had frostbite on 2 fingers and a toe, 2 toes and a finger rather.
Jesus.
And that was really brutal, and that was painful in a different way. It's hard, but it's all hard. It's just, it's hard to answer because like one thing, I thought that was really hard, but then we went to Fortaleza, and Fortaleza was like 100 degrees and over 100% humidity, and we were running at noon with no shade, so that was like a different kind of hard. And I thought Antarctica was tough until I went to Fortaleza, so it's hard to say.
Well, what do you constitute as hard though? You see, I was just thinking about it. As you're talking, it's like, what do you constitute as something that's hard or difficult? It could be that's the heaviest weight I've ever lifted, or it could be whatever. I guess if you like, for me, running into cold or being like that really
like how
hurts
long
my chest.
Are you running in the cold?
Yeah, and like 20.
What is the distance you're running?
In Antarctica, it took me about 7 hours to run that marathon. And there was no
stuff. Full marathon.
Yep, full marathon.
She did 7 marathons on 7 continents in 7 days. That's a fucking bananas.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's crazy. Yeah, but you go for these temperature things. I mean, but see, what do you constitute as hard? So, like for me, running into cold, like I switched to treadmills like come December because I can't. Like it just hurts my chest.
Well, whatever's hard is whatever you think you cannot do, and you achieve it. That's what hard is.
Right.
That's the definition. I thought I would never ever run a 5K, and I ran 100 of them. Because I just I got to do another one. Maybe I just missing something. What am I missing here? And I kept on doing and doing. And eventually they're like, people, I did it for 2 years until COVID happened, until they made us socially distance outside, all bundled up in the winter,
wearing
6 feet away from each other. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. This is just stupid. I can't. be subject to that. I have to just stay home. I can't.
I had COVID. I know, Keri, I saw you posted you had it as well,
it was
too.
Bad.
You had it pretty bad, but I think maybe asthma played a part in that as well,
I had
too.
pretty bad asthma. So definitely when I got hit with it, I was sick for almost a month. It was bad because I get pneumonia easily, and I've been hospitalized in the past for pneumonia. And people are always like, well, how do you do these crazy things? And I think running has really actually helped my asthma and helped to make my lungs stronger. So I'm not as sick, and I haven't been hospitalized in a long time for that.
Thank God.
COVID was close, but knock on wood. But it's something I definitely have to keep an eye on. But I think Rob's right. I think anything that's hard is anything that you don't think you can do in the moment, it's overcoming. Because recently I did an Ironman in California, and it was super windy. I fell off my bike. I got into a bike crash, and I ended up like in a ditch climbing my way out of, and my leg is gushing blood. And I get to it was mile 107. So an Ironman bike ride is 112 miles. So I had to get back on the bike in the wind with these huge gusts, getting back to the transition area. And I remember seeing my husband on the run, and he looks at me. He's like, "What the fuck happened to you?" And I'm just like bleeding, and I'm like, I fell off my bike. I got into a crash. It's fine, But I didn't want to finish that race. I was like, I hate this. I don't want to be here. I'm miserable.
Okay,
the
so
bike
it's normal.
Really
it's normal to say that. It's normal to say
my
that
God,
while you're
totally.
running. Okay, good. Because you would know if it's normal or not. Okay.
Keri, why did you pick California, though? See, when I saw that, I saw you did an Ironman in Sacramento. I'm like, there's an Ironman in Atlantic City. What made you pick Sacramento versus a local one?
So, the Atlantic City one is a 70.3, so technically it's a half Ironman. I've done
it's a half Ironman?
It's a half Ironman. So I actually like climbing hills, but I'm not a very good descender on the bike. And last year I did Maryland, and Maryland is flat and fast. And I ended up with like a 12:30 race. And my goal was to break 12 hours, but I hated Maryland because they had jellyfish in the water and they kept stinging you. And I ended up with like half my face swelled up from the stings that I was getting from the jellyfish. So I was like, I don't really want to do that one again. I'll try another one. So California was advertised as flat and fast. And I was like, this is the race. I'm going to break 12 hours. I'm going to go out there. And I've been busting my balls, training really hard. And I was like, Mother Nature had other plans. And the course itself was a lot different than I thought. I like to travel. I like to see new areas. I like to try new things. I have friends out in California that I met in the World Marathon Challenge. And, after we went to Tahoe and hiked, and that was really fun. I'd never been to Lake Tahoe.
Cool.
So it was I like these adventure and travel. So, but it was a bitch. And definitely during that run, my husband's like, don't give up. And I'm like, I'm not giving up. I'm not a quitter. I'm like, if I decide,
are you kidding me? Giving up? I drove 100 miles already. What the fuck?
I only had 26 miles, but it was really kind of, I was planning on having a 4:30 hour, 4 hour, 30-minute marathon. I ended up with like 5 hours and 30 minutes. And there was a point where you should be at the halfway point and you're just like, why am I not there yet? And you're just kind of grinding away. I'm good at grinding. I'm a grinder. I can put my head down and I can just grind through it. It sucked. And honestly, it's funny because that race during the run, I had, written an email. So what do you think of that, Rob? I was thinking about how I was going to quit the sport of triathlon and never do another one. I was going to write my coach and be like, you were doing your retirement.
You were doing your retirement speech during retirement.
I like to thank my fans. I like to thank whatever. I'm never fucking doing this again.
Hereby retire from the sport.
I do that every day at work, actually, now that I think about it. I quit my own company every day, and I wake up the next morning and I do it again.
You do it again.
I was wondering why you picked Sacramento, because I'm like, the physical challenge of the time change, you got to get there. You're not in your own bed. You know what I mean? Like you start to kind of like, you feel that. So when I wrote Ironman, this is my notes for this. I wrote Ironman in Sacramento. Why there? I wrote down how long the Ironman is. And then I wrote down this, which let's see what your thoughts are on this.
Okay.
Would you ever do the Norseman triathlon?
That's funny that you asked that, because one of the girls.
What is that? What is that? I need to know what that is.
It's fucked up. Keri will tell you.
Go ahead. We need to know. Everyone.
Do you have the exact things on there? Because I've heard of it. I mean, like, I only heard about it recently. It's really hard to get into. And this woman that I met from Canada, we did Virginia together, half Ironman Virginia. She did it, and it's like, isn't it? It's like a cold swim, and it's just even more ridiculous.
It's in
it's a cold swim, so it's Sweden? Not good enough just to swim in water.
Yeah.
It needs to be cold, filled with
Yeah.
jellyfish.
Yeah.
No, this is like in Sweden, and like you have to swim in like a fjord or something like that, and you have to. I don't touch the laptop here because I might like kick you out, and then it'll be the end of the fucking podcast.
He can't kick you out. It's just him being lazy. It's okay. It's just him being lazy.
Rob's an expert. Rob can pull up the Norseman triathlon. But the crazy part about it is you could jump off the back of a fucking boat into the water, and it's like, and so I'm looking at like Sacramento when I was doing my research, and what came up underneath it was the Norseman triathlon, and I'm like, this is right up Keri's alley. I gotta ask her about it. This is like, sounds like it's insane. I think there's only 1,000 people. Right?
Yeah, it's limited. There you go. Yeah, I was just pulling it up on my phone too.
They make it look nice, but this is some bullshit.
No, it's supposed to be really,
all right,
really challenging.
Let's see what this is here. Hold on. Let's see what this is.
I think, Keri,
hundreds of people have experienced Mercer County's #1.
I like this guy. I don't go to him, but
I want to give you free. I'm giving out 50 free gift cards. Okay,
I go to Paragon.
Here we go.
Like
here we go.
They stretch you out nice.
This is what Ray wants you to do.
I'm not doing it. I want Keri to do it.
That's what I said.
My friend Julie, I believe, is narrating this girl.
I think this is a trip for Keri and her husband to take. That's what I think. And then she can come back on the podcast and tell us about it.
This is not for you.
Hell no.
Yeah, look at that shit.
But it's not. This is for people with fight.
Oh, shit.
Resilience. And minds tougher than their bodies. They're not interested in being the best. All they care about is besting themselves.
For sure.
That's a good line.
That is a good line.
No hand-holding.
Love that.
No sugarcoating. They're in pursuit of something bigger. Their team behind them, a smile on their face. If that sounds good, then maybe we were wrong about you.
It's unforgiving.
That is crazy.
Look, you gotta jump off that fucking boat. It's unforgiving.
Stuff.
And I think that's why this is so hard. There's probably crazy altitude changes.
Oh, yeah.
There's
I can't even imagine what
very remote. Like, look at how remote it is too. I mean, if you fall off your bike in Maryland, chances are you may either get mugged or they might steal your bike. But here it looks like you could fall off your bike, and there might not be anyone that's like coming over for like maybe a half an hour. I don't know. Like but I made me think of you. I was like, I think I should nominate Keri for the Norseman triathlon.
It's hard to get into. They just had the lottery, and actually, to be honest, the woman that I was saying, Julie, she's the one narrating it. She did it last year. She's going to do it this year. I thought about it, but I decided that. I'm not done with triathlon. I want to get some more 100 milers. So my focus is going to be more on ultra running, I think, after Ultraman, which is a 3-day kind of triathlon in March. So I think next year my focus is going to be on ultra running. And then maybe I'll go back and do some of that. It's very enticing. And when you watch that video, it gives you like all the feels and you're like, holy shit, I want to do that. Cause I like that. But it's also, I think I'm too fresh out of California, and California was so bad. That I'm just like, oh my God, I have like some PTSD from that, to be honest. It was tough.
You need to get some success at another event, and then you're like, fuck it, I'm going to Sweden or whatever. Yeah. I'm going there. My goal is to go to the exotic locale of Mercer County Park and do the Mercer County Triathlon, right? Yeah. Because it's a sprint triathlon.
Yep.
I know I can. Too. Yeah, well, I don't know about all that, but I know I could do the bike. All right, I'm going to ask you about this because I know I could do the bike easy. It's 15 miles.
Hire me as your coach. Yeah.
I was just going to. Can you hire me how to swim? Can you teach me how to do it? All right, I'm a shitty swimmer, so I asked a friend of mine who did it. He's like,
your work was going to be easy, Keri. Your work is not going to be easy.
I'm like, he's like, bro, listen, just float through this shit. He goes, you could just float through the water. He goes, but you see, I can't do that. Like, I'm already like, all right, I'm 52. I'm going to be 52. Who's in my age category? I got to smoke these motherfuckers because that's how, that's how I live. You know what I mean? Like, that's my mindset. I might not be able to do it, but my mindset is I can't just like, oh, I'm going to float through the water and try to make it up in the bike. I just remodeled somebody's kitchen, and she had done the Mercer County Triathlon a couple of times. She said the water was dirty too, but
it's disgusting.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, it's short, and that would be a good mental kind of like,
So that was my first triathlon. And when my husband and I moved to Jersey, I didn't know how to swim. I was deathly afraid of the water, had no experience swimming whatsoever. This is 2016, right? And I took swimming lessons. I cried like when they made me put my face in the water. I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. But I had made the mistake, and I think if you're going to do it, this is one thing I recommend. And I say to people, like, I made the mistake of only swimming in a pool. I took swimming lessons, only swim in a pool, never swam in open water. So when it came time for the race, I started to panic. You can't see anything. It's dark, and the water's really warm, and there's a lot of things like seaweed or whatever, and you can feel it as you're stroking. With your swim stroke.
It's like swimming through garbage a little bit, like because all the vines in the water.
It's thick.
Like it's like swimming through like a not clean fish tank is what it's like. Imagine like there's a lot of stuff in the water. Even if you swim 1 mile in the water, that is hard to swim a mile.
Yeah,
Keri, when you train for that, first of all, how far is a sprint swim?
So I think that one's like 500 meters. So everything.
So 1,500
it's funny,
feet.
depending on the race, your sprint and Olympics are similar. Some of them might be a little less or a little bit more. Same with the bike. There's no real, it's not like Ironman where it's a set distance. Sometimes a sprint and Olympics, if it's not like a USAT sanctioned one, where they have the same distances, some of these other smaller companies, depending on the course and what they're allowed to do, or, they're restricted or whatever. So it changed. So that one's about 500 meters. And I remember the woman next to me panicked in the water, and she pushed me under, and I was underneath the water for a few seconds. And I remember thinking to myself, holy shit, I'm going to die out here. And I didn't tell my mom and dad, but I love them. And I got so panicked. I ended up doggy paddling the 500 meters. Can I tell you, it took me 30 minutes to do.
Really?
Like now I swim I could swim more than a mile in 30 minutes. So now, so think about a mile, versus like 500 meters, which is crazy. And I got on the bike, and I started biking, and I never practiced drinking. And I went to go grab a sip. I couldn't put the thing back. I dropped my bottle. I rolled over it, fell off my bike, cut up my knee. By the time I got to the run, I was bleeding. I was miserable. I remember crossing the finish line. My friends were like, oh my God, you did it. Congrats. And I said, and I was like, I will never fucking do that again. It's the exact words I said. And then I waited a year. I supported my husband when he did triathlons. And then I was like, you know what? Triathlon's not going to get the best of me, and I'm going to be back. And that's, kind of how I started doing some of that and ultra distance triathlons and stuff. And now I love swimming, but I think you should do it. I think you should give it a try, but I definitely think that you should practice with open water. And
at least a lake, at minimum a lake, at minimum a lake swim, at minimum.
Yeah.
Before you go and do it.
In the summer, we do, so I work for my coach, Draper Training and Nutrition, and we host open water swim over in Hightstown at Petty Lake. Okay, that lake's disgusting too, but that will give you a good feel about bad Mercer. It's not as bad as Mercer, but it's close.
When you go to swim, so like if I go to the pool at Robert Wood and I'm training for a 500-meter swim, how much should I be able to swim to comfortably?
You want to get close to 1,000.
Okay, so double
1,000, 1,200, at least double.
Because I'll bike on like the bike tonight over there. I can easily do the 15 miles on the bike. I don't know how my competitive time is, but I'm comfortable with that. And the running I can do because listen, I always look at it like if I'm gonna fucking finish.
The farther you go,
whatever.
The farther
you probably get more comfortable.
Yeah, the farther you go, like because that emulate, you can't just go that as far as you have to go because you have wind, you have elements, you have shit in the water. And you have can't be out of energy with the known quantity because you're going to need double or triple the energy to get through that one event.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing too is when you, I was going to say, when you go longer, it'll feel a lot shorter. So you'll be like, if you could swim 1,000 or 1,500, damn, you're going to be like 500 is going to be like, no joke. It's easy. You're like, that's easy. I don't have to worry about that.
That's only 1,500 feet, right? 500 meters is only like 1,500 feet. So it's not really a mile. It's
a quarter mile.
Quarter mile, right?
Well, no, 2,000 meters in a half Ironman is about 1.4 miles. So 1,600 is kind of a mile, but it's with meters, it's like closer to 18-ish.
Yeah. So you're looking at a third of a mile or something like that in dirty.
Yeah,
Mercer
1,600
County
meters. 1,600 meters is 0.994 miles.
All right, so close enough. Nice. So that's the move. So then you do other crazy shit. This one shocked me. Because you did a solo bike ride from High Point, New Jersey to Cape May. So I said, okay.
280.
That's cool, right? I said, that's cool. I wonder how long it took her to do it. 13 hours. I was like, you drove across New Jersey in a day Like, who the hell does that? But was that hard? Because I thought it would take you a couple of days to do, or at least 2 days. I couldn't gauge it. I couldn't like figure out what to expect.
So a lot of people this used to be a race, and this was a race pre-pandemic. They used to call it the longest day. And it used to take place on the summer solstice. So in June, when you have like the, most hours of daylight.
Okay.
So it used to be a 1-day race, and they stopped doing it. I don't know, since COVID, they haven't done it. And I just kind of followed their route. So that's kind of where I was like, I heard about it. And with Ultraman, so Ultraman is a 3-day endurance event. So day 1 of Ultraman is a 6.5-mile swim followed by a 90-mile bike ride. Day 2 is a 171-mile bike ride. And day 3 is a double marathon.
Jesus Christ.
So I wanted to kind of get a sense of like, okay, well, what is 171 miles going to feel like? So I kind of found the longest day. I wanted to bike across the state because if like I said a moment ago with swimming, if you can swim 1,500 meters, like 500 is going to feel like nothing. So for me, I was like, if I could bike 208 miles, 171 is going to feel pretty freaking easy.
How did you train for that? Did you train, did you do a lot of long bike rides or were you just,
I've done several centuries. I do, it's all about cumulative fatigue too. So with any kind of these endurance events, whether it's running or biking, some of these it's like back-to-back long rides or back-to-back long runs or things like that. So I biked a lot. I was biking, I don't know, 300-400 miles a week, some weeks. So it's a lot. And I work out during like the height of some of that stuff. Like I'm working out 5 to 8 hours, a day, on top of like working. So it's like I get up at the ass crack of dawn to get half of it in and maybe like do the rest, later on, or on weekends. It's like an all day event. Thank God my husband likes to golf, so he'll golf all day and I'll just go out on these like crazy rides and stuff. But no, it actually, so this is my second year doing it. I did it last year, and last year was tough. My husband was supposed to be my crew, and he tore his Achilles, so he wasn't able to. So my girl, I found like, a friend of a friend who was like, I'll drive down the state and spend all day. She had no experience crewing. So my stops took a lot longer than they did this year. It wasn't as organized. I didn't really know what to do or what to expect. So I learned a lot. So this year I literally I would stop every 10 miles. And I would just like switch bottles. Like I'd be like, have my bottle, have my food ready, just like hand it to me, I take it and I keep going. So it was like less than a minute. So that really helped because the year before I did it in like 16 hours versus 13. And it was because of all the stops. Like we were stopping for like 30 minutes, I had to get my own stuff and I had to, whatever. I also had like 4 flats last year, where this year I got new wheels that are tubeless.
Okay.
So I didn't have any flats, so that was really nice. So that kind of saved time, and I was pretty consistent around, like 15, 16 miles an hour. Tried to be during, they call it like the hills of South Jersey because the wind gets really bad down there.
Really?
So even though it's flat, it almost feels like you're riding hills. So there's some weather that you have to contend with down closer to the shore areas, but it was fun.
I was going to ask you about that. I bet you it was. I was going to ask you about the geography of New Jersey changes a lot from up in High Point. Yeah, right. All the way down to Atlanta. You went to Cape May rather, all the way down to Cape May where it's really flat, but like you said, windy. So you have to contend with all of that. Does the car follow behind you like the whole time? Like I would cry, bro. Like if you asked me, I'd like carry it. Like, look, like I don't know if I could do it. You know what I mean?
No, my husband actually, him and one of my good friends split the driving. So he did halfway, and then around the Princeton area, she took me the rest of the way down. They actually just like went 10 miles ahead, and I just met them because you're on there are some parts where actually we were kind of on highways for a mile or two, and some really kind of roads where there are one lane roads where you couldn't have anybody behind you and blocking traffic. And this wasn't really like a sanctioned event, so I think I didn't notify police or anything that I was doing. I think if someone's doing that, you're taking up, you're causing traffic delays and jams. It might be something you have to talk to the police about, but
valid.
I had my phone on me, so if I had a problem, I can call. But fortunately, I didn't. And it's hard. It was funny because it was like 208 miles, and I texted my friend. I keep one earphone in on my right side, connected to my phone. So if I have a problem, I could just like, hey, text so and so. I could still bike and I don't have to stop or or I can hear that she's like, okay, I'm up ahead at this location, so I would know what to expect. So I had it, and I had texted her, I remember at mile 200, and I was like, now 208 is like a little excessive. Like, why, I'm like,
right, like, I'm almost there.
I'm stopping at 200 miles. Like, who needs to go, the extra? It was actually like 207.8 or whatever miles, but like, who needs to go the extra? This is bullshit. But I had to go all the way to the lighthouse. So I'll see you in a few.
My dad we have a condo in Atlantic City, and he was watching the Ironman, it's the half marathon. And he calls me from there and he goes, these people are all freaking crazy. And I'm like, Dad, I know somebody's going to be on the podcast. This girl, Keri. I was like, wait till you hear the shit that she does. And he goes, I don't understand. He's like a 75-year-old Italian guy, right? So he's like, I don't understand why anybody would run 26 miles. Like, why would you want to do that? But it's like little generational too, where like you said, I think our age group, you're younger than me, but like my age group's starting to realize it, and your age group too. And then you find yourself in these positions of 208 miles. At 104, were you like this is fucking nuts? Like I'm in Newark, it's 104. Is that like, you know what I mean? Like, because you probably go through some not urban, but you probably do as you're driving down there. So my theory with High Point, and that's why I was asking you a little bit about it, is one of my other goals, and Rob's trying to get as much content as he can in prior to me doing this goal, is I'm going to do the New Jersey portion of the Appalachian Trail.
Oh, I love that.
With my cousin.
Tell her
with my cousin Tim.
What your level of protection will be in 73 miles of the roughest terrain in New Jersey. Go. Tell her what you got.
My cousin Tim is coming with me, and he says, what are we going to do about bears? He goes, I don't do bears. And I said, Tim, don't worry, I'm bringing bear spray.
Yeah.
And these guys think that I'm not. See, Keri said yes because she
agreed. Said yes because she's crazy like you, who will go 100 miles on a bicycle. Love you, but that's crazy too. It's just a different kind of crazy. You need a firearm. You gotta bring a gun.
Bear spray's fine. You have the brown bears, so they're more afraid of you. No, black bears. The brown bears are the ones that kill you for sport. Black bears, sorry. The black bears are more afraid of you than not that afraid. You got to make yourself be big, and kind of like, you don't want to make eye contact.
Ray, 130 pounds, gonna make himself big, blow himself up. You're gonna be like a
165.
You want to be like loud and kind of aggressive, But the bear spray is supposed to work. You have to be cautious, and that's why you have to be really careful of food, that you don't throw your food out, or you kind of keep it close and tied and zipped up, because if they smell anything. But I think bears would probably be the least of your worries. Not gonna lie to you.
Have you ever done it though? Have you ever? Did you do that? I've only done
parts of it. No, I haven't done the whole part. I've only gone up to Mount Tammany, and then there's part of the Appalachian Trail up there, up by the Delaware Water Gap. So I've run part of it up there. But I think that's awesome. I think you should totally do it. I'm in support of that. And when you doing it? When is this going?
Well, we're looking at, so my cousin Tim says, when's there the least amount of bears, or when are the bears not as hungry? It's like an obsession.
What's
with
the
these
bear
fucking
forecast?
Bears.
Is that what
what's
the bear forecast?
So either April or June. So I'm trying to do something every month, right?
Okay. I like
whether it's physical or whether it's, but I just get a text message from my work crew. I said, please don't bother me. He goes, boss, we're running out of gas. I'm like, oh my God. So I have to send them gas money, which is absolutely preposterous in the middle of the podcast. But I do feel, because if not, they're going to be stuck at the Tacony Bridge, which happened.
They didn't notice that they needed gas.
No, listen, I love these guys. They're super, super hard workers, but we're really working on some of these attentions to personal detail, like gas. That we should know. So this guy just got a Zelle for gas. He's probably like, what the hell's going on? But I'm trying to do something every month. So my vision is, and it might not be physical. So Rob and I are going to Nashville in March to do a podcasting with old rock stars. They have a convention. Our friend runs the convention. What is this? This says, what should someone who is considering hiking the Appalachian Trail know? It says people die doing this. It's not like a health club, by the way. I didn't with better. All right, fuck that. I'm not worried about that. Number one's bullshit. 2, GPS units are just paperweights without batteries. Learn to read a map. All right, it's 72 miles. We'll stay on the trail. Do not leave your campsite. Right? Do not leave your campsite. All right, bears are a pain in the ass. Porcupines like salt, and skunks haven't much sense of humor. That's interesting. Are there porcupines in New Jersey? I guess.
I've never seen one.
I've never seen one. Clean clothes are are an affection. Dry socks are not. Tasty but they do have. And Keri, I don't know if you've ever stayed there. There's supposed to be this absolutely gorgeous like camp place that you could stay.
Okay.
It's like a half a mile off of the trail. So like I'm not like sleeping in a tent. Like I'm gonna go sleep in like a bed in like this like high end, I'm a bitch. So like this high end thing. Then it says over here a couple more things: a midweight sleeping bag, need boots, new boots, sock. Yeah,
this goes for sneakers too, by the way.
Yeah, I gotta break in a pair of
I have
sneakers.
a horrible experience with this one. The sneakers are just as bad.
I like number 11, bro. I like number 11. Not everyone you meet on the trail is a child of God. That's hilarious.
There you go. We should get that as a tattoo, right? Before you go out there.
How long are you expecting it to take? Like a weekend? Like, are you doing this in 2 days?
Yeah, that's my vision.
Why not do it in one day? Then you don't have to stop or sleep anywhere. And
72 miles in one day? I'm not Keri Mandell.
You can run for your life for 72 miles. Run for your life for 72 miles. And then you can be like, oh my God, thank you. And just get in the car and go home.
Well, Tim asked me, he goes, what's this going to take? Like a week? I said, Tim, if we're on Appalachian Trail for a fucking week to go 72 miles, I said, we suck. And I go, you're an athlete. You're like a runner. He goes, yeah, but I never did any trail running before. I'm like, all right. I said, I think we're going to be good. So I like to do it over a weekend, one overnight. Rob's just getting content now in case I die from the bear attack. But I don't know if there's more bears in April.
After bad decision. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have a front seat to the end of your world. I'm sorry.
I have this too, which I'm doing as well. I am going to go see an F1 race with my dad in Miami. That's going to be fun. That's in May. And then in August, my friend Tom, he lives in South Dakota. Yeah. And he owns a restaurant that's on the route to Sturgis.
Okay.
So it's like a little town where all the bikers go through from Sturgis. And it looks like it's a lot of fun. So I'm like, fuck it. I'm going there in August for a couple of days to just hang out with bikers. And so I don't know what's more dangerous, bears or bikers. I haven't quite.
It's a good question. I'd probably be more intimidated by the bikers than the bears, honestly.
Yeah, probably.
5,000 bikers in one town as you're driving through in a car that looks like a federal agent vehicle is worse. True story.
Nah, I'm going to be cool. I'm meeting Tom out there. Cowboy Tom, he knows what's up. He's been on the podcast before. He's funny as shit. He moved from New Jersey to Wyoming.
He'll be fine. He got a gun rack. He's good.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. Everybody out there has got a gun. So what's your next thing? I saw you have this yoga and running retreat, which we could talk about a little bit, but what are you training for now? Like what's the next challenge?
So next week I go to Utah and I'm going to do a 50K in Utah and Moab. I've never been out there. I've been dying to go. So a friend of mine, we're going out there to do it. I wanted to do the 50 miler. My coach was like, you just came, you're 2 weeks off of an Ironman. You should just probably do the 50K, which is, like 31 miles. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll do that. No, but I'm going there. And then I have Ultraman in March, and I've been training for Ultraman God since like 2020. So the last 2 years couldn't do it because of COVID. So that's my big thing. I'm kind of taking a little bit of a break from triathlon since Ironman just for the next month or so. And then I'm going to really start to ramp back up towards the end of December, and then through January and February. And the races in March. From there, like similar to you, I like doing different things and challenges each month. And I like to I try to travel someplace. It doesn't have to be very far, every 6 weeks. I get really, I don't like being in one spot for too long. I need to be out and see. So I have a couple events like, Vermont 100K. My goal is to try to get into the Javelina 100, which is in Arizona next year. Some kind of ultras throughout the summer. So a lot of running in my future.
Nice. When is enough? Like when you're training, like, do you say it's never like I'm going to do this one particular race. It's going to be 3 days. I'm going to do double marathon on one day. I'm going to, should I not do anything for the upcoming, like the weeks before it? Should I do how do you schedule your events? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. You want to get on this, you always have your A and B races. So if Ultraman's my A race, Ironman Sacramento was kind of my B race. You want to get that in to kind of help prepare you for Ultraman. So it's always kind of good to have a race, usually 8 weeks before, or, something like that. Nothing too close to it because you want to be able to taper. You have to have at least a 2-week taper. So you don't want to come off any really big effort going into another really big effort. So you have to be really mindful when you plan things out. Also, after after my 100-miler last year, it took me literally 5 weeks before I started feeling better. I was destroyed. It destroyed my feet and my legs, and I took a long time to recover. I just didn't have. I was able to run like 2 weeks after, but like I wasn't doing any crazy mileage or anything. It just I felt tired and really sluggish. So it was about 5 weeks where I started like feeling better and could kind of do a little bit more and push the pace a little bit. So with Ultraman, I'm not really doing anything until like May. My next thing, and my coach and I were talking, and depending on how my body recovers, May might not even happen. It might be more like June. And I think it's giving yourself time. So in theory, it's good to plan out stuff. I like to have a calendar and I like different events to look forward to, but I think ultimately you also have to kind of listen to your body and think about what's the most, like, what do you really want to do? What's the most important and what's going to help that or hurt that? So, sometimes things get shifted or moved around a little bit, based on the training cycle that you're in. And how you're doing. That's why, as I mentioned before, like recovery is really important. Nutrition is really important because I want to do these things. And I don't know if there is ever enough. I like upping the ante. I've always, in the last several years, I've kind of just, first I did a marathon, then I did the world major marathons, 6 of them. Then I was like, well, let me do the continents. And a lot of my friends and I from the World Marathon Challenge, we talked about meeting up again in 24 and doing the North Pole Marathon. And then when you do that, so it's colder than Antarctica, and you get like a Grand Slam medal. So Rob, you'd appreciate it. You get this like really cool Grand Slam medal. So now you've been on like both poles. You have like the North Pole and the South Pole. So I'm hoping to do that in 2024. So I don't know if there's ever enough. I think there's so many cool things to do. And I'm looking for adventure. I want adventure, and I like to do things that challenge myself. And I like those feelings of I want to throw up or I want to die, and you don't, and you just get stronger. And so right now I'm just like about traveling, going to cool places and doing some cool shit, and looking for adventure.
Well, you're having this retreat in Lake George. Lake George is one of my favorite places on the planet. What's entailed with that, and talk about it, because I know this is something that people get to spend time with you.
Yeah. I decided I try to do, with the yoga studio, we do one retreat a year. I'm looking into try to expanding that a little bit because we do have a lot of people, a lot of interest, and we sell out rather quickly. With the yoga studio, we're going to Portugal, but now with all my running clients and a lot of my triathletes and other people and women friends, I found this. People were interested in going away. I wanted to try something that was a little bit more local. A lot of my retreats are international, so I wanted something that was a little closer to home, a little more accessible. Folks could travel there, and we decided, I linked up with my girlfriend who's also a running coach too, and I said, I want to start doing some running retreats locally in different areas. I think it'd be a lot of fun, and I think for the first one, it's women only. The next one, we'd like to open it up. It's hard. We rented an Airbnb for this one, and it's really hard to find homes that have enough beds. You don't always have enough rooms, but like enough beds. Then we decided to keep it kind of the same sex, only because we were like, you're sharing space, and sometimes that can be, get a little awkward, I guess. So I'm excited about it. It's my first kind of actually domestic retreat that I'm hosting, even though I've held like 5 international retreats. But I'm excited that it's more running in yoga, so you still get the yoga aspect, which I think is really important because it's hopefully teaching folks how to stretch and warm up appropriately. We're also going to do talk a lot about nutrition, and just kind of get out there in nature. I've actually never been to Lake George, but I've done a lot of research in order to kind of prepare, where we're going to trail run and hike, and it's open to all levels and abilities. So we have some ladies who, just are going to go to hike and some want to run. So we'll break the group up into kind of 2 smaller groups. So we have 12 women joining us, and I'm excited. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to do more. And already there's been, we sold out in like 3 days. There's been more interest. I'm trying to organize a couple of things coming down through the pipeline since, there's been so much interest. So I think it's cool. And it's a good way for women to get together and spend time together and get away.
It's interesting. My other good friend, her name is Pratiti Pathak, and she's a life coach. Yeah. Right. And I spent some time with some coaching with her that helped me with a lot of like time management and a lot of other stuff. She was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I have a fear of bridges, so we talked about that, which was kind of insane. Right. But which Rob laughs about. It's a real medical condition, Rob. It is. I have a fear of one bridge, Keri. It's the Walt Whitman Bridge. I hate that fucking bridge. But going back to go.
I have a girlfriend who's
Listen,
afraid
if
of
it was
bridges.
just the bridge, it'd be okay. I'm
Right.
gonna go bear spray 73 miles.
I'm not
live
afraid
in
of
the
that.
woods.
I'm
It's
not
everything
afraid
put
of any of
together.
that.
It's just everything.
But what
But a
I'm
bridge
thinking
was
about
tough.
with Lake George, though, and what
Yeah.
Pertini's doing, Pertini does, I think it's twice a year they go to Mexico.
Yeah.
And she has a group and they meditate and they do life skill stuff. And I think these retreats are important. I've never been on one. I'll make it a goal that I want to go on
You
one of these retreats, you know what I mean? And I think that would be exciting, I think, but I think it's a good way. Again, it's another way of no one's going to, you let people not bother you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because we're so attached and we're so like the phone, like I can't begin to tell you how many text messages. Like I send a text out before the podcast to everyone. I'm not answering for the next hour and a half because me and Rob do some stuff afterwards. I'm not doing any. I can't begin to tell you, like, how do you not like, but you're so attached. And so when you can get away like that. And I went to Lake George last year. The food was really, really good. I stayed in a nice Airbnb. It was like on 8 or 9 acres of land. It was not in Lake George. It was like 5 minutes from Lake George. And it was great. It was such a really, really good experience. And I really enjoyed it. So it's awesome that you're going to Portugal for Empower Yoga. That's great.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible. God, the cliffs, it just looks amazing out there. So yeah, we have a good group. We have about 18 of us coming out to Portugal in June. And I think next year, looking into hopefully the south of France and doing something there. I like to travel. So it's, I love doing yoga, and I love, we create a lot of like fitness. So we kind of take, my husband and I both do CrossFit. So we do kind of CrossFit workouts. So we get like, a little fitness and yoga. So anybody that's like really seeking adventure or want to, kind of step outside their comfort zone, taking retreats really good. The nice thing is you could really do as much or as little as you want. And it's all about like what you want to take away from it, with the running. And I had a couple of women that were a little nervous about signing up because they're like, we're not great runners, or, I have bad knees, or, I'm slow. And it's like, we'll meet you where you're at. And that's kind of the beauty of it. But we'll talk about some of that stuff too. And it's nice to be with like-minded people who enjoy some of the same things. It can be very freeing. And like you said, you get away from your phone for a while. I mean, we're so connected all the time that it's so nice to be able to disconnect and get away, and be out in nature and do those things. That's why I think it's awesome that you're going to go do the Appalachian Trail. Just be out there, not worry about anything else. Just the bears and you.
Rob, when you have like-minded people in the same podcast,
listen, all I'm saying
shit
is,
doesn't seem as
all
crazy
I'm saying
now,
is,
right?
listen,
It's less
okay,
crazy.
let me just talk to someone. Ray, you're not normal, so let me just talk to Keri. She's normal, okay? So Keri,
Okay, well, I don't know about that.
I believe in pushing myself, right? So I went with my son one year. I'm going to show you a picture real quick. I think you're gonna. This is like how much, like I said, fuck it, I'm not letting this beat me. So we went on a race. Me and my son. We went on a race. Let me pull up the full photo here for you. So this is the race. This is the race that we did, right? So this is the race we did. But
I'm proud of you. Look at you.
Need to show you the after my race, right? So I'm running this race, right? So I'm saying like, yeah, my heel hurts. My heel really, really hurts. I don't know what's wrong with me. So I get in the car and I take off my sock, and this is what I see. Okay, so I'm like, all right, I got a big blister there. No big deal.
Yeah.
Ugh, yuck.
So what do you do when you get home after a race, right? You get in the shower, right?
Yeah.
Go home. Get in the shower. I'm going to show you. Please, people, don't look away, please. If you're
No,
sick,
I need to see this.
if you're sickened. Okay.
Is it on your foot?
Yeah. Watch. You ready? Hold on tight, everybody. Hold on. Everybody look for that seatbelt. Make sure the tray is in the upright position. Here we go. That's what my foot looked like when I was done.
Nice.
Oh, yeah.
I was so I couldn't walk for about 3 weeks. Legitimately.
Yeah, that's painful.
This is new sneakers, by the way. Never run with new sneakers, everybody. This is what new sneakers looks like.
You should never do that. Wear them around your house. Go walk around. Yeah. Go do whatever. You look like your that ugly ass foot looked like it was in like 6 feet of water.
Well, the thing is, man, like it was cold outside. It was rainy outside. Your feet get wet. I mean, you don't run in a bubble, boy. You know what I mean? It ain't running around the gym. This is like nature and water and sweat and
well, I train. Don't think I don't. I go to I go to Veterans Park, Mercer County Park. I run into trails in there. I love the trails in Veterans Park. It's not like the Appalachian Trail, but at least it gives you like the idea. Like I'm going to do it tomorrow morning. I'm going to work out at RWJ, and then I'm going to go and run that. And I'm going to go organize my garage. But but that makes you like you have to get a little bit of experience. I'm really like this is a whole side of you.
This is a Rocky Run, baby. That's it. That's it where it all starts.
So I want to say this though. If you're so a couple things with blisters. Put Aquaphor on your feet. Like lube up your feet with Aquaphor, especially if it's going to be wet. That's kind of a trick that I learned. My first, one of my first 70.3 races. I got a wicked blister underneath the pad of my foot, and I ran kind of with my toes curled around it. That's a nice picture of you, though. But a stud you are.
Thanks. That's right. That's the art museum. That's where you run up at the end, by the way, right there.
But a trick to that is Aquaphor.
Yeah.
Lube up your feet. And that will help. And I haven't, since I've been doing that, I haven't had a problem with blisters. Minus the 100 with the 100 miles. Yeah. It's like inevitable that you get blisters. You kind of pop them, tape them, and keep going. Yeah. But Aquaphors and everything. And if you're going to be outside and it's going to be raining, you should definitely wear kind of wool socks, like Smart Wool. The moisture, it like wicks the moisture away better than like a regular. Like
well, that picture was out of the shower, so that was like the worst it got.
Did you?
That was like right out of the shower, like no skin at all. It came right off.
Try to keep the skin on, but that's hard. That's tough.
So I go to doctor up. I call my doctor friend, a podiatrist, and I said, "What should I do?" He goes, "Well, you could take antibiotics, so you don't want to get anything, but if you take a garlic extract. So I take this Garlinase, it's 5,000. He says it has a natural antibiotic in it, and I swear to you, I took it every 12 hours for about a month." I had no infection, no nothing, and I healed like in 2 or 3 weeks. Where I still ran the next week. By the way, I didn't take off the next week.
You, bro.
I taped that shit up and like fuck this. I'm not. Shit. This is what I'm here for. I'm here to do shit that I hate because I know I can do it. So when I do stuff that I love, I know that won't beat me either.
Yeah,
Keri, do you put the Aquaphor on the bottom? Do you put the Aquaphor on the bottom of your feet, or you just a whole fucking foot? Really?
Whole foot in between my toes, everything. And I also learned recently. What is it called? This also bag bomb skin moisturizing lotion is also supposed to be really awesome too. There was a guy that ran a 100-mile race in Virginia, a woman that her and I did the 100-mile with, and she was crewing for this guy, and his feet looked like perfect by the end, because like inevitably with hundreds, like you're gonna get blisters and you're gonna like lose all your toenails. Like that's just what happens. I've lost all my toenails. Yeah, so bag bomb, there you go. This is supposed to help too. I haven't tried yet. I bought it, and I actually was going to try it for my runs this weekend, but to try it out. But this is supposed to be amazing too. Put it on your feet before you run or in between.
I have bad dry skin on like on my hands and stuff like that. I'm going to try that. That's a good idea. Keri, I think I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
I really, really do. I mean, you are like, you're a great follow on both Instagram and Facebook. Your stories are great. Like when you were throwing out your scale and you were doing like, that's good shit. You know what I mean? And really motivating. And sometimes, like I said, like I find myself where I'm like, fucking Keri did it. You know what I mean? Like,
I can probably do it.
Yeah, fuck that. I could do the smile. I'm good. You know what I mean? But I think you are inspirational to a lot of people. And I think that's, like that's awesome. Like that's the best way to give back. And if one person looks at one of your posts and says, I could do whatever, or I could like take that first step. The first step in a journey is the hardest step, right? So you take that first step, and who knows where you're going to go. You're never going to find me in the Vermont Ultra. You're just not, right? But
if you could do Appalachian 72, come on.
The Appalachian 72. That's what Rob, that's what we're going to call it, bro. The Appalachian 72. Brought to you by Rob's Custom Shops.
Listen, he's in no kind of shape for this. He's going to come back.
Yes, I am.
You know what? We'll have a next podcast in the hospital.
No,
in somewhere in New York, upper New York somewhere.
I work out a lot. I work out maybe, not properly for this, but I'm going to hire Keri, and I'm going to teach everybody a lesson. I'm going to teach everybody a lesson. Now I'm really
if you hired Keri for the beginning, I wouldn't have a problem with it. You're like, I'm going to go out there. I'll just get some bear spray. I'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Cool. Everybody. I'm going 73 miles in the woods without anybody, but have fun, everybody. Yeah.
72 miles. I have a lot of time. I feel really, really good.
You
Keri,
should go up there and do some runs up there before you go, just to get the experience too.
I agree. Keri, thank you for being on the podcast
Thanks for
and
having
coming
me.
back. And I'm glad, I know you weren't 100% today, but I wasn't worried since you like do Ironmans and shit. I wasn't really even thinking about it, but I do really appreciate it. If people want to follow you, they want to find you, they want to be trained by you, they want to whatever. How do they do that?
You can follow me on Instagram. So Iron Yogi 14. And then from there, I have a Linktree account, so you can follow my podcast, not my podcast, my YouTube channel if you want, or you can get to my studio. My personal website is ironyogi.org, so you can find me there too, get some training stuff. We'll do some motivational speaking too, so I've done a couple different things. So
nice.
Yeah, Instagram's the way to go. And then from there, it links to my yoga studio and Power Yoga, and also my personal website for ironyogi.org. So yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you again so much for being on the show, and thank you for dealing with Rob. He is a handful, but we learned a lot today.
Listen, I'm the adult in the room. I'm sorry that you think the adult in the room is a handful. Okay,
you are the more serious.
It was amazing.
You are the more serious. You have another medal.
Another medal.
I got the ones I was talking about. So one is the pumpkin run, and one is the one you get if you carry the pumpkin all the way through.
I love it.
That's great.
I
said this
I'll
is
just walk
again
around the house like this for you, Ray.
You should wear these in all.
It's just like my bling hanging on here.
Our podcast next week, Rob. You should 100% wear these.
Hey, listen, it works
that you're
for
hilarious.
me. You know why? Because I didn't think I could ever do one, and I did 100.
Hell yeah!
So if you could do one, and by the way, this is the bowl. This is the bowl that they said they were giving out. They were giving out for the 5K. Everyone got a medal. No, instead I got chocolate, and I got some marshmallows and some graham crackers. This is what I got.
Half-ass shit is that?
I hate chocolate. I hate all that shit. And this is what they got at the finish line. I wanted to cry.
All right, Keri, listen. Keri, listen to what I'm going to do now. I'm going to regret. I'm going to fucking regret this. I'm going to say, hey, Rob, would you like to run the Appalachian Trail with me?
Ray, let me tell you something, Ray. You have a better chance of Jesus Christ walking alongside of you than seeing me walk on the Appalachian Trail with you for 73 miles.
So I'll see you in April.
Definitely.